As you can see, I have the boat off the trailer. I've got a couple of alterations to make. I want to put some mesh on the front here so I can stand on it, and give it a rub down and a recoat of paint. So I won't be going out in the boat for a while. But this video is not about my trailer. This is about people seem to be confusing the difference between an engine or a motor. Or maybe I'm confused and not everybody else. So this video is all about what is the difference between an engine and a motor. Yes, what is the difference between an engine and a motor? We'll be discussing this, and also I'll be answering Adam's question. Thanks for your question, Adam, and your remarks. And also at the end of the video will be another Salty Pete handy hint. Now, it's quite common through ignorance that people will quite often use a wrong term to describe something. Take the word bug, for example. A lot of people use that to describe an insect. In entomology, the study of insects, and don't say that this video isn't educational. This study of insects, a bug is referred to an insect that sucks blood. So a mosquito is a bug. An ant is not. Probably the word for bug may have come about due to the little electrical thing we hang around with a blue light that attracts mosquitoes. It's generally called a bug zapper. So then people started using the bug to describe any type of insect. And yes, although it's common, it is still wrong. Also, I believe a definition should be precise. For example, the definition of a man, you could say a human. That definition would be correct, but it also includes boys, girls, and women. So you could say a man is a male human. Well, that would include boys as well. But if you said a man is an adult male human, then of course you've narrowed it right down to what a man is. So I believe a definition should be precise and not include other things which are not under the title of which you are looking for, if you can understand any of that. Well, here are the definitions that were given to me when I was in college doing engineering studies. An engine is a rotary mechanism that produces its own energy. A motor is a rotary mechanism that uses external energy. So there you can see the difference between an engine and a motor. The engine, like the internal combustion engine, the fuel and the air enters the cylinder. The piston compresses it, there's some sort of ignition, and bang, you've got the energy right inside the engine. A motor, on the other hand, requires a cord connecting it to a power outlet or a battery which is attached to the motor. So there's a definite definition between one and the other. Apart from the electric motor, we have an air motor or a pneumatic motor driven by compressed air, or a hydraulic motor which is driven by pressurized oil. One of the early forms of ignorance when it came to motor is the steam engine. I didn't realise this until I was working on the steam engine, and yes, I'm that old. I've worked on a steam engine. But it was a stationary steam engine, and it was driven by steam, which was made from the boiler. And the boiler room was about 50 metres away. I suddenly realised this is not a steam engine, this is a steam motor. And I think the problem, or the first ignorance, came from this was the locomotive, or what we know as a steam train. But in fact, now I realised a steam engine is not a steam engine, so it should be called a choo-choo train or Thomas the Tank Motor. Now I went to the Oxford, Cambridge and Webster dictionaries online to see what definitions they had. They all had the same definition. The same guy must have written them all. An engine, a machine with moving parts that converts power into motion. A motor, a machine, especially one powered by electricity or internal combustion, that supplies motive power for a vehicle or any other device with moving parts. Let's analyse these definitions, shall we? Oops, drop the pen. An engine, a machine with moving parts. A machine with moving parts. A machine without moving parts would probably be a house brick. Imagine applying for a job. Can you fix machines? Oh yeah, as long as they don't have moving parts, mate. Confuses me all the time. Saved much for my career as a stand-up comedian. Anyway, a machine with moving parts that converts power into motion. That could virtually be anything from a bow and arrow to a car jack. So really that definition is just so wide and broad it means absolutely nothing. Let's go to a motor. A machine, especially one powered by electricity. Right, they've already said that they be powered by electricity or internal combustion. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference between a motor and an engine. They're the same thing. So there's no need for a term engine because, according to this, a motor can be powered by electricity or internal combustion. Anyway, a machine, especially one powered by electricity or internal combustion, that supplies motive power for a vehicle or any other device with moving parts. You know one thing with these two definitions, one thing that is missing, the word rotary. An engine, according to this, could be a hydraulic or a pneumatic cylinder. It's a linear motion. And an internal combustion engine, if all that's got to do is provide motion, we're looking at a gun or like a rifle. Produces its own energy when the cartridge goes off and produces motion to the bullet as it's going down the barrel. Don't try it at home. So these definitions are all over the place. I got no idea. Talking about comedian, I mean the guy that wrote those must have been a comedian, more a comedian than an engineer, I would say. Okay, so I'd like your opinion on two things. One is, what is your definition between an engine and a motor? And secondly, do you think the dictionaries should change their definition from what is correct to what is common? Or should they keep the correct definition? It'd be fantastic to hear your response. Now I'm just going to shoot out to my car and just run through the transmission and so forth in answer to Adam's question.
Well, hello. In my last video I did a video. Well, you can't argue with that. On vehicles for towing boats. I was asked what sort of vehicle I have. So what I thought I'd do is I'd go through my vehicle and just explain some of the stuff on it, some of the stuff which I don't use. And incidentally, I was looking at the videos that I did earlier on whether it's an engine or a motor. My t-shirt looked like it was dirty, but trust me, it's the design on the t-shirt. It just looks like I was wearing a shirt I'd been repairing an engine with. Anyway, the vehicle I have is a Toyota Prado diesel. So I'll just go through some of the transmission. As I said, some of it I don't even use. So here we go. So here is the transmission of my vehicle. If anybody is interested, we have a standard automatic gear shift. And we have automatic traction control as well, which means that the automatic traction control monitors each wheel to make sure one of the wheels isn't spinning, and will alter the drive to overcome the extra spinning wheel. Same as the ABS braking system, which is a system which means you can smash into the car in front of you in a more controlled fashion. But seriously folks, because that wasn't very funny, so we have automatic traction control now. Here is a button. This is called the power button. If you press that, the vehicle has more power because it changes gears at a higher speed. The only thing I can think you'd want to use that for is if you're trying to merge into a highway that's going a lot faster. I've never used it. I don't wish to burn fuel any faster than I need to, so I've never used that. So this is in the H position. There's lever on the left, so that's where I normally leave that, or where you have to leave it for standard driving. If I want to come out of automatic traction control, which I can do, I'll just go onto the dashboard here. So there on the dashboard is the automatic traction control icon. Now if one of the wheels is slipping, apparently one of these wheels will flash depending on which one is slipping too much. If I want to, I can press a button on the dashboard. This light lights up and the diff locks come on, as explained in my last video. If the diff locks come on, it takes the automatic traction control off. Okay, so driving with the automatic traction control. Now if you're going down a beach and you don't want to lose any power by the vehicle going into fourth gear, there's a button on the side of the gear lever, and if you press that, it converts it from a 4-speed gearbox to a 3-speed gearbox. Okay, now down here is another button, and if you even want more power, a bit slower, you can actually press that and it will go into second gear, so it will be then converted to a 2-speed gearbox. Now I haven't used any of this before. The only lever I have used is this one over here, towing a boat out of the water at a beach. If I push that forward, it'll go forward. That puts it into low ratio and puts it into 4-wheel drive and locks the diffs. So it does all three things. So that's the only lever I've ever used. I've never used the diff locks in standard drive. So basically that's the transmission of the vehicle. Having said that, well, I'll go on to Salty Pete's handy hint.
When you've been launching and retrieving your boat, the back end of your vehicle gets very close to the water, if not gets in the water. And of course waves will splash up underneath the back of it. So it's very important to make sure you rinse all the salt water off of the underside of the back of your vehicle. For this reason I've made up this water pipe configuration. It's just reticulation pipe with an elbow and a cap on the end. I've drilled three 3mm holes, and the other end is attached to the hose, and I've put a valve on there as well so I can switch it on and off. And it's just a simple matter of getting the pipe underneath the vehicle, turn the valve on, and then use that to wash underneath the back of your car, especially your wheels, because your wheels go in the water. And give the underside of your vehicle a very good wash. So that's my handy hint on this video anyway.